morning. This is Humanity Meets Business, Business Therapy. Today we have an awesome guest. His name is Jamey Schrier. He's a physical therapist and the founder of Practice Freedom U and the best-selling author of The Practice Freedom Method, the practice owner guides to work less, earn more, and live your passion. He helps practice owners work less, earn more, and have fun again. So just with that awesome introduction, I can't wait to hear what we have to say about that. And I'm also thinking, do physical therapists not have very much fun?
Oh, Christine, don't say that. We have lots of fun.
We want to bring the fun back. No, I honestly, owning a private practice and having a practice of any kind is very time consuming, and it can be. So any tips, tricks, shortcuts, things like that, I think we're all very much into. So Jamey, maybe you can kind of start by giving us some insight on you, what your life was like and how you came into this method.
Well, yeah, I kind of came by accident. I'm one of these people that, wanted to help people. When they asked me on my interview at school, Jamey, why do you want to be a physical therapist? Well, I want to help people. Yeah. What else? I mean, you got to give me more than that. But it was the truth. I just kind of wanted to help people. I was interested in the body and movement and all that. So I went through school and then I got out, but I always had this bug. I always had this kind of spirit living inside me that said, I want to open my own business one day. My dad had a small business back in the day, and I don't know, maybe that was some of the influence in me. So I did it. I had my fiance at the time. She's my wife now, Colleen, and we opened up Schrier Physical Therapy. It was exciting. It was like better than graduation. And it was everything I thought it would be. But then,
dun, dun, dun.
Dun, 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 cliffhanger. About 2.5 years, I noticed some anxiety. I kind of refer to it kind of like a pit in my stomach. Like I went to work, I just wasn't as excited. I felt a little anxious, which I never really had before. And it just kept growing, more and more and more. And I'm like, what's going on here? This isn't as fun. I'm not laughing. I'm not having as much fun anymore. This is kind of becoming a business. And I'm not prepared. I went to school to, treat people and help their backs and ankles. I mean, I didn't go in the business. I just thought if you just take care of people, then everything would work out. Well, I was mistaken, because when you start to grow, there's lots of things that come with that. Especially when you start to hire people. So that's where I went into this. Okay, this is not really what I signed up for. I don't mind working hard. I mean, I love the grit and all that, but I was working more and more hours, and I was making like less and less money, and I wasn't at home as much, and I wasn't seeing my family as much. I said, wait a minute, this isn't good. And then a freaky thing happened, Christine. Do you know what that was?
What happened?
My place burned down.
No, oh my God.
Yeah, so I left for a rare getaway weekend with my newborn and my wife. And all of a sudden I came back home. I got a call saying, Jamey, I think your building is on fire. And this is how bad it was. This was about 3.5 years into it. This is how bad I felt. I go to my wife. Her dad's calling her and saying she sees it on the news. And I go to her, I go, I hope it's my suite and I hope it burns down. Like, I just wanted someone to hit reset. So that's where I was. Now, of course, I smiled. I tell everyone, how you doing? Oh, I'm doing great. With all that superficial stuff that we all say, but I wasn't doing well. And then I had a decision to make. Do I rebuild, or do I just go to somewhere else, just do something else with my life? I don't know. Well, I decided to rebuild, but this time I said, I'm going to actually learn and put some time and effort learning actually how to build a business of physical therapy, not just how to be a great clinician. And that's what took me down this 9-year path of building a business that gave me what I now refer to as practice freedom. I have control of my time. I'm able to make the money I deserve. I'm able to have fun and enjoyment and really use my passion and help people, but do it in a way that really resonates with me. And then I got into this coaching business because I started to share my story when I actually accomplished this, and people started to reach out. And then I'm like, oh, I like helping people in their business too. And then that's what I started doing more and more, fell in love with it. And that's where Practice Freedom U came from.
Okay. I have so much to say about this.
So there's a little short intro.
Yes, I love it. I love it. I love it. And I really actually think that's such a relatable story. So often we have the fantasy of, once I'm on my own, everything will be better. But we don't always conceptualize I didn't think about the business tax. I didn't think about the insurance and this kind of insurance and that kind of insurance and paying staff. And that only half my time would be with patients now. And the other half would be doing things that, as you said, fish out of water. So often with so many of these kind of like crafts, so you're a physical therapist. I'm also a therapist, but not the physical kind. So marriage and family, private practice as well. Yeah, there wasn't one class in grad school on, hey, in case you want to open a practice, this is what you might want to know. Not even an option. It wasn't a capstone. There was nowhere in sight. And so many of us that practice a craft and we like to heal and help people, that's what we want to do. We want to work on our own. Part of the incentive for these kinds of degrees in the healthcare industry that we're in is doing that, right?
Yeah.
So I really think you're touching on a topic here that isn't just you. I mean, this could be physical therapy, marriage and family therapy. This could be massage therapy, all the way up and down tattoo. I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's when you're providing a service and you're skilled and you're crafted in your area of expertise, and yet you want to be a business owner. And it looks so easy,
and you're spot on. I call it, in our professions, I call it like the smart profession, right? You mentioned some other professions as well. With our professions is we had to get into school. We had to sacrifice and study and do all these things. We get into school, we pay a bunch of money, and then we get out of school, no guarantees and anything, but we get out of school hoping to get a job. And then we're like, you know what? I'm going to do it on my own. I want to treat this way. I want to deliver the services this way. And then we get into this business of fill in the blank, business of physical therapy, business of mental health, business of marriage counseling, whatever the business of your thing is. And then we're like, well, wait a minute. The things that I use to get through school and to be a talented clinician, wait a minute, they're not really working in the business world. So there's this myth, if you're familiar with the Michael Gerber famous book, The E-Myth, there's this entrepreneurial myth that says, well, if I'm smart and talented in my field, in my craft, as you mentioned, then I will be successful. And that's why it's called a myth, because that's not the case. You actually have to know and understand the business of your profession, especially when you bring on people. Because then that brings a whole nother element of this business, aside from the things that you mentioned, the insurance and your taxes and everything else. So that's where I kind of hit a brick wall and said, now I know why most people, businesses fail within the first 5 years. And I realized why so many business owners are not happy in their business. And I just said, you know what? It doesn't have to be like this. I know people that have a great business, they serve their community, and they're happy. They feel like, they're living their best life. And I said, I want to know what they're doing.
I love it. I was going to comment too on when you said I was hoping that it was my suite that burned down, where that's that's a big red flag of you might be burnt out if
Oh, I like that. You might be burned out if you say, I hope my suite burns to the ground.
Yes. Yeah, there's a fire. I hope it's mine.
And oh my God, I remember to this day, just not even missing a beat, Christine. I'm sitting there driving. My wife's next to me. She gets a call on the phone. She flips up her little phone, gets a call, and she goes, oh my God, oh no. I go, what happened? My dad says your building's on fire. And without even missing a beat, I look at her and I go, I hope it's my suite. I hope it burns to the ground. And she goes, what? Why would you say that? I go, because I'll be off tomorrow.
For our lovely listeners out there, if you notice yourself having fantasies or being like, fingers crossed, I hope it's mine that burns out. Yeah, you need a vacation, you need a break, you definitely need a reset, because that's taken it to this extreme. And I love that you have a sense of humor about that, because it's really, that could be tragic. And
well, you have to.
Mindsets, right?
Yeah, you have to, for sure.
So maybe for our listeners, so they know that you've gone through the school of hard knocks, right? So this isn't like information that was just kind of handed to you and you're handing out. Like you really had to live this, you had to feel this, you developed this. So what would you say if someone's out there listening and they're in one of these smart fields like you talked about, where they've hustled, they've gone to school, they've done all the things, they're living the dream, trying to create their own practice, being an entrepreneur, and yet they're just not quite prepared. They really don't know what they're in for. What do you have to offer for them?
Oh, I mean, personally in my company, or what some advice they can do to build and grow their business?
Yeah, just your method or anything you'd like to share.
So during this, and I'm really bad at learning things and being successful out the gate. I'm really good at making mistakes again and again and again, but I don't give up. So eventually I figured out a few things during this 9-year journey before I created a business that gave me 137 days off, made more money than I'd ever made in my life, had a wonderful staff, served the community, and I was literally in my business less than 5 hours a week. I learned that there are certain things that successful businesses do. And what I've done is I looked at those certain things and I realized that with these private practices, some were more prominent than others. So we're talking about smaller businesses, whether you're, a couple 100,000 in revenue, maybe 2, 3, 4 million, but that level, when you get to, 5 million, 10 million, there's other challenges that you have. But the one thing that I realize is people don't have a goal. I know it sounds crazy, Christine, but it's like, so what is it that you want? What are you working towards? What is your, I won't say end goal, but what is like your next milestone you're looking for? Christine, I've spoken to hundreds of business owners in multiple fields, multiple industries, and I can tell you 80% don't really know. Like 80% don't really know what their goal is. It's almost like, hey, Christine, when was the last time you've been on vacation?
Oh, pretty recently.
Recently. Okay. I'm going to venture to say that the first decision you made was deciding where you are going.
Yes, okay. Absolutely.
It wasn't, all right, we got to pack. Okay, we got to pack. Everyone get together. We got to pack. What are we packing? I don't know. Just pack something.
Pack something.
you weren't just grabbing luggage and packing. You had to figure out what your destination was. Well, that's a goal in your business. And the more meaningful that goal is, the more it inspires you, the clearer that destination becomes. Where so many people, and it's just crazy, but where so many people go awry, and this is the first step in this, is they're not clear where they're going. And if they're not clear where they're going, you can't make decisions now if you're not clear on their future of what you're trying to accomplish. It just becomes random, throw paint against the wall, see what sticks, or whatever the saying is. It's like, all right, we're going to go on vacation. Great. Let's just pack and let's just go. Well, it's going to be tough. You don't know if you're bringing, bathing suits or you're bringing heavy coats or something. So establishing a goal is huge. And that's number one. Let's get clear on what you're trying to do, where you're trying to go.
Yeah, what you're really describing, I'm loving the analogy of packing and not knowing where you're going, which is real fun if you're going on like a little mystery weekend, and someone's like, hey, I planned this thing.
Mystery weekends are wonderful, but if you're going to use your business as your mystery weekend, you need to rethink that one.
Absolutely.
It's too expensive of a risk.
I'm imagining this and I'm like, how completely inefficient. I don't really know where I'm going. I'm just kind of bumping into things, hoping it works out. Like, oh God.
I think it's like that movie, Yes Man. You ever seen that movie with?
Yes.
Yeah. I love that. It's like, ooh, let's just randomly pick stuff. He goes, yeah, business doesn't usually work out like that.
All right. So we need a goal. We got to start there.
You need a goal, and you need a meaningful goal. Don't just say some random thing. Make it meaning, like Simon Sinek says when he says, start with why. Make it that you want something, whether it's a financial goal or a time goal or the type of people you want to serve. Just make it where it's something where when you achieve this, you feel good, right? Okay. So number 2 is, once you're clear on where you're going with the company, the next thing is you gotta be clear on who you want to help. The worst thing you could do, there's a Japanese, I think it's Japanese proverb that just says, the one that chases multiple rabbits catches none, something like that. I always butcher those sayings, but so the next step is identify your avatar. Who is your ideal client? Who is the person right now, especially if you already are in business and you have at least one client? Who is the person that they walk in, Christine, and you know who they are, and you're like, you smile, you're like, oh my God, this is my wheelhouse. This person walks in, they have the right energy. They're whatever they're coming in for is like, oh my God, I'm gonna do my best work with this person. Oh, this is gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to this. That's your avatar. And the more clear you are with your avatar, later on, you'll see, it helps create your messaging. So when we do about marketing and building your network and stuff like that, it helps you start to put your energy around people where you're going to do your best work. So we're all familiar with Pareto's principle, right? The 80-20 principle. Mm-hmm. Well, that thing is so dead on that I know, even in my business now, 20% of the clients are producing 80% of the headaches for my company, right? It's always that case. Same thing when I had the physical therapy practice. The ones that complain about this, the ones that show up late, the ones that are changing their appointments 30 times, the ones that refuse to pay their co-pays or their bills, the ones that threaten you like, well, I'm going to give you a bad review if you don't just take care of my bill for me. Like, those people wear you out. So let's be intentional about the people we want to serve. So that's number 2, develop your avatar.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right, number 3, I'll fly through these and we can kind of dive in where you want. Number 3, now we're getting into this idea around time. So here's the thing. You are the most important person in your business. Not because you're an amazing clinician in your business, is because your time helps address and build the other aspects of your business. There's 3 major aspects of it. There's a financial part, there's a marketing part, there's the operations and systems part. So what you have to understand how to do is delegate. Because Christine, no matter how smart you might be, you can't do it all. And frankly, we don't want to do it all. Unfortunately, this is where the smart profession gets us. Guess what we did in school? Guess what we did getting into school? We did it all. Mm-hmm. We studied, we took the test, we did it. We got the credit. So we have a lot, smart professionals have a difficulty in letting go and delegating. But if you don't delegate, then you won't create more time on your schedule. Because this whole thing about being busy, it's almost like in DC here, it's a badge of honor how busy someone is. How busy are you? I'm busy. Well, I'm super busy. I'll one up your busy and I'll double down on your, it's like, look, it's not about being busy. We all want to be productive. We all want to do things that we like to do. So with delegation, it's simply allowing someone else to do something that they're good at, that you're not good at. Right. That's how I look at delegation. And then that creates time to focus on other things that your business needs. Mm-hmm. All right, number 4. Number 4 is like what separates a real business from the self-employed business where you just trade this time for money type of deal. Number 4 is all about systemizing, right? Systems, whether you call it processes, systems, standard operating procedures, whatever you call them, it's about creating a method in how to do something, especially something that's done again and again and again, such as answering the phones. How do you want to answer the phone? There's your process. How do you check in people? How do you do your hiring process? So those things that are like repeatable in your business, and they're pretty much the same for all businesses for the most part, you want to have a process, whether it's a checklist, whether it's a step-by-step way of doing it. Like what I'm sharing you right now is a process, right? It's a checklist of this is how you build a successful practice. So systems. Number 5, we have to measure what matters. We have to measure what matters. And in my world in physical therapy, we do this all the time. We're measuring range of motion, we're measuring strength, we're measuring this, we're measuring that. But it's amazing how we don't have these measures, these KPIs, these key performance indicators, or these metrics in our business. So what metrics can you monitor to know how your business is doing? So whether it's
Okay.
utilization, new patients, visits, cancellations, profit margin, revenue per visit, things like that.
Mhm.
Any question on that? I can feel your head just burn, like, ooh, you got some good here. Wanted to ask.
Yeah, no, I really, I can see where you're going with this. And
Okay.
so often with the smart professions, like you said, it's just, there's a lot of excitement just starting, and then all of a sudden you have a few people come in, it feels like you're doing good, and it almost can seem like, why do I care? Why do I need to measure? What does this matter? If I can pay my bills, I'm doing okay. But I think you're right. They're missing a lot of marks there
Well, that's why
when you're
establishing a
not
goal is so
measuring.
important.
Mm-hmm.
So if all you want to do is pay your bills, then that's fine. Maybe what you're doing is fine. But if you're trying to build and grow a business that happens to deliver amazing services,
Right.
then there are going to be different things that you have to put in place. So tracking your progress, I mean, if you don't have metrics, then you're going to make decisions based on guessing. And that can be a really expensive decision, a really time consuming decision. So having a metric, what it really does is get out of the emotional place that we're all in when we're in our business and get into the more of that frontal cortex of objectifying something, getting rid of the emotion and saying, hey, here's where my new clients are. We had 20 new clients last month. Instead of saying, well, we didn't really seem busy. Yeah, we probably had like 10 new people. Like, that's a big difference when
Oh
you're
yeah.
guessing what's going on, because here's what happens. Your decision making comes from what the data tells you. And if the data is not telling you anything because you're not tracking it, how many times have we made a decision later on we regret, oh God, that was a bad decision?
No, absolutely. I mean, I love that you just said take the emotion out and just get into facts. Because I absolutely agree when it just makes decisions so much easier. It's so much clearer that way too.
Yeah, there's a great saying that says when emotion is high, intelligence is low.
Love
So
it.
that old amygdala that's in our brain that used to be like fight or flight when tiger's running after us, we can still have that sense of fight or flight when we're stressed out and overwhelmed and frustrated in our business. And then we make reactionary decisions that then lead us down a bad path that later on, after money, time, and frustration, is like, oh my God, yeah, that wasn't good. So we're trying to avoid those types of things, and metrics is how one of the ways, at least, how you do it.
Perfect.
The sixth step in all of this is delivering a great experience. Now, this isn't just about being a great clinician. It's about delivering an experience for people, because the healthcare bar is pretty darn low. I like to use the example where you go into the old school doctor's office, you go up to the window, of course the window's shut. They're talking behind the window. They open it up. The woman doesn't even look at you and just gives you a clipboard with about 32 forms. She goes, fill this out, have a seat. Doctor will be with you in a moment. I mean, that's like the old school. That's what we're comparing ourselves with. So the healthcare bar is really low. The way you really create a business that will live forever, that will give you everything you want, is make sure the person that you are seeing, the person that you're caring for, has a consistent experience. So whether I'm being taken care of, Christine, by you or one of your associates, that experience of when I call the company, when I come into your office, it's meeting my needs, meeting my expectations. So I just call it, we need to develop the wow experience for people. And it's not that hard to do, because like I said, the bar is relatively low. I think it's slightly better than like the Department of Motor Vehicles, but I don't know. Some offices I've seen the bar pretty low, but I don't think it's that bad. So it doesn't take a ton to do that. And then finally, in this 7 steps to create a successful private practice, you have to, this is where we get into a little bit marketing. You have to develop your network. All of us here are specialists. People are referred to specialists. This is where your avatar comes in. When you're clear on your avatar, then you can be clear on who has influence over your avatar. So these are your referral partners in your community, people that have connections and relationships. And our job is develop that network so then we can build our referrals and set the foundation of growing a successful practice.
Woo! Wow, that was a mouthful, and that was so like rich with content. Thank you so much for sharing. I mean, I know that anybody listening right now is like, "Yep, I will be listening to this like 17 times." I just happen to take awesome notes when I'm doing the show, and I have 2 pages already here of just yes. So I do have a question on number 7. Now,
Yes.
referring back to our delegating, right? So we're on number 3 with delegate. Now, do you believe it needs to be the practitioner that is out networking, or can that be delegated? What's your opinion on that?
So that's a really great question. A lot of people ask me on that. You know, we can delegate a lot of things as practice owners. The one thing we can never delegate is our influence. We have influence over people. We have connections over people. Nobody is more passionate and connected to our business, our vision, and what we're trying to accomplish here than us. So you can delegate the administrative aspects of it, maybe setting up a meeting with a potential referral partner or something like that. But I want the owner being the person creating that relationship, because the relationship, I kind of relate it to like being a farmer versus a rancher. You know, ranchers, you know, just slaughter the cow, eat the meat, and move on. Farmers are all about cultivating the soil, cultivating the crops, so they come up again and again and again. Relationships in your communities is all about cultivating, and you want that relationship to be with you. Will it be like that forever? No, it won't be like that forever. But that's an important role that we have to play, which is where time management comes into play, and carving out time on your schedule to be able to do that. But this is how most of us do it anyways. We just want to do it more intentional. So this is an exercise you don't want to delegate. What you want to do is create time on your schedule. And perhaps the thing you could be delegating is maybe some of the administrative stuff in your business, or bringing in associates or other therapists to help with the treating, and you providing your tutelage and mentorship in with them. So you do then have time to build relationships in your community.
This is like I said, I'm like, woohoo, yeah, you definitely got me thinking right now.
Mm-hmm.
So for our listeners then want to know more or would like to get in contact with you, what's the best way?
Yeah. So, you know, some people just want some good information, entertaining. Other people are like, you know what? I'm ready for the next step. I want to learn how to do this. No BS, no fluff. Just tell me, what do I have to do to reach what I want? If that's you and you want to talk about what that is, I mean, we do have a program that takes you through these 7 steps that helps coach you and guide you through them. If you're interested in having that conversation, then just reach out to practicefreedomu.com/discovery call. We'll have you answer just a few questions, so we have some information, and then we'll jump on a call. There's no sales, there's nothing like that. We just want to make sure that if it's a right fit, then great. If it's not, then whatever we can do to point you in the right direction, we'll do.
That's amazing. I want to thank you again for being on the show and sharing such awesome knowledge, especially for, you know, these smart professionals and the private practices of the world that do struggle in this way. I mean, you really have something to offer here. It's like, yep. And so thanks so much for being on the show. For the listeners today, thank you so much for listening. I'm Christine Salvo, your host, licensed marriage and family therapist, advanced certified mediator, and internationally certified hypnotherapist. Thank you so much for listening, and have a wonderful day. Good morning. This is Humanity Meets Business, Business Therapy. Today we have